Hello, this is Mr. Leopold. Thanks for joining me today. We're going to discuss Unit 3, Lesson 6, which is dealing with graphing a simple equation like y equals something x. Y equals 3x or y equals 1/2 x. And then Lesson 8, which deals with using slope as a rate. So we'll talk a little bit more about that term, rate. First of all, this year, let's step back for a second. What are we doing this year in 8th grade? Well, the focus is linear algebra, where we have two variables related to each other mathematically. Usually we use y and x, but it can be anything we want for as far as the variable names. Let's give an example, something in real life. You're driving down the road, normally see 55 miles an hour speed limit. Let's suppose it's 50 miles an hour and you're taking a big trip from here to California. And your average speed, you figure, is about 50 miles an hour. And maybe it's 65 miles an hour in some zones, and other places it's 20 miles an hour in traffic. But let's suppose you're going to average 50 miles an hour and you're planning this big trip and you're going to compare your distance, and we're going to call that y, with time. We'll call that x. And so you can make a table, you can make a graph, you can make an equation. These are the three ways we describe these two variables. And then you can plan out your trip. How many hours is it going to take us to go so far? We're going to stay overnight in a certain state, and so on and so forth. So we're going to use 50 miles per hour, and you can make a table, and you're going to find that normally when you do a real life table like this, time is usually on the x-axis. In this case, hours, minutes, seconds, days, and usually the kind of thing, as time goes on, something is going up or something is going down, and that's the y variable, the other variable. In this case, distance as you go. And then you always want to does this make sense? 1 hour, as time goes on, I'm going farther and farther away from home. Now, what are the numbers? Well, after 1 hour, I go 50 miles. After 2 hours, I go 100 miles. 3 hours. I just threw this arrow in. I don't know exactly how it's going to look, but you can make an actual graph. In this case, you wouldn't use the negative numbers because you don't have negative time or negative distance. So let's do something different, and I'm going to ask you to go ahead and fill out your own little graph and bring it into Class Connect, and that's the main thing we're doing here. Alright, so let's take our time looking at this from the very top. We're comparing distance and time. And this is a different example. Suppose you're riding a skateboard and you're trying to find your average speed on the skateboard. And so you got a friend with a stopwatch, and you get a meter stick, and let's say you just pick 6 meters, and you mark the starting point and the stopping point on the street. And then you're going to ride your skateboard, and then he's going to hit his stopwatch, and he finds 12 seconds in 6 meters. So 6 meters, you went 12 seconds, or you went 6 meters and 12 seconds on your skateboard. Now you can make it, you remember how we used to simplify fractions? Well, 6/12 is the same as like 3 over 6. That halfway point in 3 meters, you went 6 seconds. Or you can say the most simplified way of saying that is I went 1 meter in 2 seconds. So that's the simplest way, and usually we call that the unit rate. You get the simplest way you can. So the rate of change is another words we're using. The rate of change, how we're changing, is 1/2 meter for every second, or 1/2, or as a decimal, 0.5 meters per second. See, it's kind of like the 55 or 50 miles per hour. Now we got a 0.5 meters per second. So you always want to get the simplest way to compare two things. And if you make an equation for that, it's y equals 0.5x. Y is your distance, x is your time. So again, what I'm going to ask you to do is, for this equation, fill out the table here. Seconds. Start with 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. You can even pick 10 seconds if you wanted to. But you're going to pick a few numbers for seconds and then say how many meters did you go on your skateboard. In other words, 0, you're 0. You were starting with point, called this the origin, right? And after 1 second, you went half a meter. 2 seconds, you went 1 meter. You get the idea, right? So you're going to make a graph and connect the lines. And once again, what we're doing, the terminology is we're plotting ordered pairs. This x, y is an ordered pair for this equation. So we're plotting the ordered pairs, and we expect, if it's for linear algebra, you expect to get a straight line. Now, in other situations, you might have a curved line and it's not linear, but in this case, it should be a straight line. And that's all I'm asking you to do. Bring that into Class Connect, and we'll kind of do that together, and we'll see how we did. Thanks again for listening, and looking forward to seeing you in Class Connect. Have a good day. Bye.